What do you get when you mix Ocean's 11 with Raiders of the Lost Ark and throw in a dash of American history? You get the blockbuster film National Treasure. Stay with us.
Get ready for the 3324 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff. And Eric, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. Another great episode. We do music, we do movies, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, Eric, right? We sprinkle it all together. We mix it in a bowl.
Indeed.
This is what comes out.
Yeah. Another movie that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Or for the first time this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. Yep.
Yeah. And that's half the fun. A lot of the stuff we do is stuff that we're familiar with, but every so often we'll throw it in that an album that I haven't really listened to much, that's Eric's favorite, or vice versa, or something that is something that is new. So sometimes the fun is with the new experience too. And I'm looking forward to hearing that. In addition to, of course, Eric and myself, who are here every week, stalwarts. We're glued to our seats. We're not allowed to leave. We're shackled in. We're kind of like Marv in Sin City at the end. We're in the chair. We've got two guests with us. We've got Mr. Gerry. We have Mr. Gerry Sullivan.
Greetings.
How are you? Welcome, Gerry.
I'm well.
How are you, sir?
Gerry was last seen on what? Were you on Edge of Tomorrow with us?
No.
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams. Yes.
Field of Dreams.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep. After one of our other guests no-showed us, it was just Gerry on his own.
Seriously, I had nightmares about
That's right.
Probably,
Yep.
He probably, the other guest probably was drinking the PBR and passed out. And that's why Gerry is going with the Budweiser today.
It happens to the best of
us. And there's no way we could do National Treasure without someone who is so steeped in history.
This is so up your alley, my friend.
This should be in his wheel.
I was thinking of you the whole time watching this movie. Yeah.
If he says the first words out of his mouth is, "Why did you ask me to do this?" We're gonna have to end this episode and just. We're totally off base and we don't know what we're doing. It's Mr. Sean Grady, co-creator of.
You would be on this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. He's got to be. Co-creator of Drama from the Past, which is historical reenactments. They do one act and short plays, him and his partner, about the American experience in revolutionary times. So this, and I've seen him multiple times, and I usually don't tell him I'm coming so I could surprise him, and I try and throw him off when he sees me in the audience, and I'm shaking my head no like this, and then he's like, "What do you mean no? Like what?"
I have yet to see it. I have to get up there and check it out at some point. Sorry, Sean, but I haven't.
No, hey,
but,
So this is the perfect episode for Sean to join us. We will drop a link for Drama from the Past in the show notes, so go check it out. This is like the perfect melding of guest and content. So we thank you, Sean, and welcome aboard.
As always,
be here.
Yeah, as always. So, let's jump into the stats and we'll get into the conversation. I'll be interesting to hear Eric's take on it. The last time a movie was sprung on him that I promoted, I didn't promote this one, but I really played up Edge of Tomorrow, and he's kind of like, you kind of oversold it. I was like a used car salesman on that one. So
that was an oversell.
I walked off the lot with it. So mission accomplished. I got the job done. So.
You've mentioned this movie to me several times. Like, have you seen National Treasure? And every time we see each other, it's like, you didn't see National Treasure? You haven't seen that yet? You haven't seen that yet? Yeah, it's like
I keep checking in on it, and he keeps saying no.
But you really didn't say much about it.
No, I didn't.
Edge of Tomorrow. So
and we'll get to that too. I think there's kind of I think Nicolas Cage has to do with some of that. But let's get into the stats, and I think we'll talk about that. This was released in November of 2004, directed by John Turteltaub, written by Jim Koof, Cormac Wibberley. We've got these interesting names recently: Cormac Wibberley and Melanie Wibberley. Before who wrote Edge of Tomorrow? It was the two two brothers or sister, and they had an interesting last name as well. Also, they co-wrote Dial of Destiny. $100 million budget and a $347 million box office. So this was again, put yourself back in 2004. This is pre-MCU. So 347 million was big.
Mm-hmm.
Was big back then. We got to put ourselves in that mindset of pre-Iron Man and pre that kind of stuff.
That's right.
Eric, this stats for you. The music was done by Trevor Rabin of Yes.
Yes. It was. Yes, it was.
Yes.
But very understated, I found. I mean, I'm surprised.
Kind of a standard movie score. Kind of a standard sounding score.
Yeah. Yeah. I was expecting more from it, but I saw it. I was like, what? It's cool. You don't see his name very often, but
not very experimental. Kind of.
He just put out a new album, which I hear is very good. Very good. Okay. But anyway,
and he tours with some of his Yes compatriots as well. They kind of go around. So that's Trevor Rabin is a rock musician or a progressive rock musician. He was in the resurgence of Yes. So it's interesting that, kind of like Stuart Copeland, some of these artists kind of transition into scores. And they do it kind of undercover. They kind of do maybe one or two small films. But then before you know it, they're doing some big projects. So, that was Trevor Rabin. The idea of this story dates back to 1997. So even though it was in 2004, John Turteltaub was working with the story writer about this idea. And I think my open was the best way I could describe this film, because it's a heist film, right? So it's got some Ocean's 11 DNA in the beginning. And then it's got the Raiders DNA in it. It's got the quest, the clues, the puzzles.
This was because this is before Crystal Skull. 4 years away would be Crystal Skull, and of course we all know how that turned out. But the fact that there weren't any movies like this, on the landscape, like an action adventure sort of like treasure hunter thing. It was definitely time, and Disney did it very well. And this reminded me very much of like Pirates of the Caribbean, that type of the first Pirates. I was very pleased with that film when I first saw it. It was just a fun action romp, thing. And this was exactly the same feel to me. Like, I wish Disney would do more of this kind of thing today. Yeah. This kind of live action type of stuff where it's not related to superheroes. It's not related to whatever, but it reminds me of the days back in the 70s when they experimented with things like the black hole and movies of that ilk, like just trying different things, sci-fi or whatever. And this was definitely in that vein of like an Indiana Jones meets, but in the modern day. Yeah. And I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. I really did. It was great.
And here's the wrinkle: is normally when people do Raiders or Indiana Jones knockoffs, it's always exotic locations, South America. This one takes place in the United States.
States, yep.
Which is very interesting, Sean. Right? Because normally, one of the things I wrote down is modern day America. I'm putting it in air quotes for those not watching on YouTube. Modern day America is too new to have this deep history, like in Raiders when they're going for the Ark and Egypt and civilizations from 1,000 years ago. Not that there wasn't civilizations here, but this is dealing with more of a modern history, meaning revolutionary era, right, Sean?
Yeah. No, we are. We're a new nation. We're only 250 years old in about 2 years, so we're going to be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, and that's like a blip on the radar of like a Great Britain, which we broke free from. So we forget that sometimes that there's other places on the world that have been around a lot longer than we have, and of course, there were civilizations
buildings older than us,
and there were civilizations here, well before we came and took the land from them.
So the interesting thing is, then how do you kind of have something that's where the stakes are so high or the treasures, and they kind of deal with that in the beginning with Christopher Plummer, who makes a cameo in the cast. Well, we'll run through the cast and we'll kind of get into it. Christopher Plummer is like the first kind of big name actor you see in the film. And he plays John Adams Gates. And this is another interesting wrinkle in this type of story, is that usually in these adventure or indie clones, the adventurers are well regarded. Usually, they're roguish, but they're well respected. Whatever. In this case, the Gates family are crackpots. They're not believed. They're thought of as crazy conspiracy theorists. That this stuff is you guys are nuts for it, and kind of as a result, their name is kind of tarnished and sullied. So that's another interesting wrinkle on this, is that they're not like the well respected. Oh, Dr. Jones, and what's your opinion on this? These guys are
world renowned,
these guys are thought of as crackpots and just crazy people. So you've got Christopher Plummer as John Adams Gates. Nicolas Cage as Benjamin Franklin Gates, who is the grandson of that. John Voight as Patrick Henry Gates. So there's the grandfather, Christopher Plummer. The father. You think there's a little theme in there?
A little theme in the names there.
You feel that? You feel that?
You know what? People have made, have commented, critique that and saying it's kind of cheesy. It's what I think it's fantastic.
I love it. It was perfect.
I think it's great. It sells the story so much. It's like, and the fact that this family has that tradition of naming their prodigy, like after famous presidents. It's
and figures from history. It's just a great wink and a nod, and it kind of helps set the table a little bit. You've got Sean Bean, the great Sean Bean. This guy's not bad in anything, but he's really good in this. He's Ian Howe, and he's kind of the villain.
And he spells his name correctly, by the way. He spells his name correctly.
That I knew from the very beginning. He was very predictable, and this is the only thing. The only thing that you can't cast Sean Bean in a movie and have him in the first 5 minutes of the film and not say that he's gonna be the traitor. And if you notice, like everybody's dressed in black, he's the only one dressed in white. That struck me very right away. It's like when they're on the
ship.
Yes, he's wearing a white Parker. Everybody else is wearing black, and he's like, and it's like, but he's the bad guy. I guarantee it. And yep, sure as shit, there it is.
It doesn't help that he was surrounded by like 3 or 4 foreign things also, right? Of nondescript descent. So they were definitely the mercenary part of it. So then you've got, after Sean Bean, you've got Diane Kruger as Dr. Abigail Chase, and she represents the government aspect of it. Justin Bartha as Riley Poole, who's Nicolas Cage's sidekick. If you like sardonic humor, that's him. And then a very curious but welcome addition to the cast is Harvey Keitel.
Yes,
perfect. I loved him
as Agent Peter Sadusky, who you don't.
Oh my God, we'll get to it, but man, I was very impressed. This is cool.
Exactly. Yes,
and that's what it is. Is these types of movies are a dime a dozen, but when you get a top flight cast like this. You're in. I think you're in for it. I think even if the movie kind of flounders a little bit, the star power and the actors, they sell it and they can keep it. They can literally keep it afloat like the Intrepid that they were on.
Well, you mentioned Nicolas Cage, Dean. Now you kept this movie I guess for me at arm's length, worried that I wasn't going to buy Nicolas Cage in the role. Is that accurate?
Not that. Okay. What it is some I don't know how you feel. I believe I'm pretty sure you like Nicolas Cage, but a lot of people have a love-hate relationship. A lot of people really dislike Nicolas Cage. No matter what he's in, they can't accept because he can be so over the top. But he's a really great actor. So it's like one of those things. Like there are some people that I've said you need to watch. You should watch National Treasure. I hate Nicolas Cage. I'm never going to watch it. I'm like, but it's not like a Nicolas Cage. Like it's not like that. Yeah. And they're like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to watch it. Right? Sean, do you get that? Sean, that like for some people, he's an acquired taste.
Sure. I don't have a problem with Nicolas Cage. I like him, but I thought he wasn't as Nicolas Cage in this film as other films. I think I don't think. I think the story was playing him in a sense rather than him playing. Him in a story. Which there were
some flashes of Nicolas Cage, especially when Abigail Chase, those initial interactions, like quiet, please, and you're just not going to shut up, are you? Like there's, some of those Cageisms came out, which is good, and I love Nicolas Cage.
He didn't dominate the film.
Yeah,
no, he wasn't over the top. He wasn't, really. I mean, I love his humor.
Yes.
And he's got that sort of quirky thing about him. And it's like, the question is like, when did he become an action star? Yeah. Like that's the hard sell. It's like, you don't buy him and, like, how could he be an action star? And yet he's very good at it.
Yeah.
And things like The Rock and, he just, he excels. I mean, he manages to, he somehow it works for him, but yet he's very much in that, still in that, quirk. I mean, he's very physical. Yeah. He's a great physical actor. I mean, look at Raising Arizona. I mean, that's a perfect example of, you can't get any more quirky and physical than that. And he was absolutely hysterical in that movie.
He played smart well. Yeah. Like, I could kind of believe that he knew all this stuff. He was figuring all these things out. And it was just kind of, natural to him. Like when they're in the store and Riley was like, I know something you don't know. And he was still like that. Like he was still kind of quirky, trying to do you look at the 100. So it was like, it was just Nicolas Cage, the name. It wasn't Nicolas Cage, the wacky, over the top stuff. But I mean, this is one of my favorite movies. Like I was so happy to be doing this one.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as Nick, and this film kind of almost kind of signals a demarcation point for him. This was his second highest grossing film ever. But after this, the bloom kind of came off the rose, because this is when he started. After this, he started a very prolific run of movies that were hit and miss, mostly misses. And most of them, the direct to video age began. So he started doing a lot of films that did not go into the theater just to keep working. And this was, if you look at it, I mean, he did the sequel a couple of years later, which didn't do nearly as well, but this was like his last giant film. He did do the voice of the caveman in The Croods, which was an animated film. But as far as live action stuff, everything started to tail off after this. He was doing great work, but it just wasn't connecting. And this was kind of like the last kind of hurrah for his big action.
Do you think that's a result of it being like a blockbuster Disney movie? I mean, that seems to be, that it's happened to other actors as well. Yeah. I mean, you look at Robert Downey. Is anybody really taking him seriously as an actor and say Oppenheimer? Then, because everybody's thinking Iron Man, like it's hard to see him play anything but Tony Stark.
There could be something to that. I think it's also the choices he was making. He just started doing a string of just kind of strange films like Wicker Man and Lord of War. And I mean, he just really started doing some really kind of stuff that, and again, the business was changing at the same time, right? The on-demand and the straight-to-video stuff started to really push through, and he just kept on working.
But now he's like kind of leaning into his quirkiness, right? Is that movie about himself, right?
Yeah.
What's it called? I didn't see
it. The unbearable weightness of being.
I still want to see that. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm like curious.
And
about
that was his. Yeah, that was kind of he's kind of had a renaissance. So but this is like kind of prime Cage, and he has that. What I love about it is his love of history. I think that's what the whole family, even John Voight, even though he's like kind of doesn't believe in it, like they still know, like when they're talking about the silence do-good letters, and John Voight is kind of, he still has that knowledge and that love of history. He just doesn't believe that his son should be pursuing this.
And the respect of the Declaration of Independence, like when they're making sure, like it's different to see like someone so passionate about something like history. I mean, they obviously made their job and stuff, and they really sold that this is what was driving it. Like granted they did get 1% of whatever it was, but you could see that they really, you really believe that they wanted to just keep this out of the bad guys' hands.
Yeah.
And they respected what they were looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to catch people up, if you've never seen it, basically the backstory is all the treasures from like across the world, in Europe and Asia throughout history, all that stuff got plundered, and it kept moving around, and eventually found its way to America. So then the Americans, the revolutionaries, decided to hide it to keep it from the British. So there's this massive untold wealth, a treasure that became a legend, and a descendant of the Gates family was given a clue, but never told what it meant. And this clue, again, everything got debunked and people forgot things over time. So it became very discredited that there was never any treasure, but the Gates family, especially the grandfather, kind of never gave up on it. So they kind of became known as, conspiracy theorists and crackpots and wackos, but they do have that love. It's not because they're looking for mercenary reasons, but because they love history and they want to find the treasure. Mm-hmm. So Nicolas Cage kind of, gets the clue from his grandfather when he's very young, and then dedicates his life to history. I don't want to say he dedicates his life to treasure hunting, but to learning about it, but also to try and find out. Right, Sean? Is that kind of
Yeah, I think so. They cared about the story, the family legacy also, and the history. They learned their history along the way because they were able to grab those facts at the ready when they see a symbol or when they got a name, they pull it out. Timothy Matlock, he was the official scribe, and they figure out all what these symbols mean, what the Freemason writings and symbols. But I watched it again. I hadn't seen it. I think I might have just saw it in the theater once. I really enjoyed it, and I don't know if I ever got to see it again until we decided to do this. But he's working with Ian. But what's his plan if they actually him and Ian find the treasure? I'm talking about in the beginning. Then what? You found it. Now this guy's going to keep it all, and that's not what you really want anyway. So
I think you get the idea. I got the notion in the beginning
the for me.
I know.
I never thought.
But I mean, I'm what if they found it right there?
Well, yeah. I got the notion in the beginning that they were friendly with each other. That it wasn't so much of. So it was kind of Yeah, like Sean Bean didn't reveal his evil intent until he started getting frustrated with things, and okay,
Well, he was playing on the notion that he knew Nicolas Cage. It was all about preserving history, and and he was kind of buying into that. He just something that you didn't see in Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Belloc is completely it's night and day, and that kind of thing. But here, he's he's playing him. He's like, I'm working with you. I'm interested in this again. I got that right away, but I knew that it was just that wasn't meant to be, and it just it's fun. It's just it just played right into that, and it was. I'm glad that they just did that right away. Yeah, and it wasn't like a big reveal in the middle, where you just don't know.
Then it became a race, which makes
another
makes the movies that much the pacing of the film that much more fun. It's not overly complicated. It just it keeps you keeps your interest. It's interesting. Mm-hmm. It just in any other hands, I think it would have been if they had tried to make it more. Messing with something like Da Vinci Code or something a little bit heavier that, it probably wouldn't have done as well. And a lot of critics panned it for that reason. Yeah. It's like a kind of, it's kind of like for kids and it's dumbed down. And it's like, I don't know. I just think it's a good story. It's like, this is the kind of thing that we as boys grew up with the kind of thing that you would read in a novel or a comic book or
I mean,
that's
in all the ways that Raiders is implausible, so is this. It's not based in any type of reality. Mm-hmm. Now the beginning of the movie when they're on the Charlotte and in the ice, do you guys know where that was filmed?
Obviously not where it looked like it was.
First of all, where was it supposed to be? Was that Alaska or?
No. They said it was the Antarctic because they were saying how because they were talking about history. That was filmed in Utah.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
The second guess.
The Charlotte scene was filmed in Utah. Believe it or not, amazing. And it looks like the Antarctic, but that's where it was supposed to be, the Antarctic. It's. I like that note. Yeah, Sean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It starts out at the beginning. It's a race. Yeah. It's kind of they set the players on the track, and we gotta, each one is trying to outmaneuver or figure out what the next move is. And it's interesting because when they both decide that the Declaration of Independence needs to be stolen because there's a hidden map on it. but they both have different ways of doing it, right? Sean Bean's thing is like brute force, explosives, right? Kind of like assaulting the archives. And meanwhile, Nicolas Cage is like, well, we could do it this, we do it with fingerprints, and here's how you get it, and we can make them move it to a room where it's less secure. We can grab it. So that was interesting too. Again, you've got a heist, but you've got it from two different aspects of one is just like a home invasion style.
It's kind of like it's kind of like the Dark Knight, the Joker, blowing things up, and it's like, and then Nicolas Cage's portion is like Mission Impossible, where it's very just very meticulous and quiet and just tense,
he didn't want to do it with violence. He didn't want to hurt, not that Sean Bean wanted to, but they wanted to, he wanted to make sure that he was stealing the Declaration to protect it. He wasn't stealing it. He was stealing it so it wouldn't be stolen. And that's funny because they tried to go the scene when they basically explains like, well, this is where we lost the FBI. It's like, oh, well, this is where we lost Homeland Security. Because they tried to tell people like someone's trying to steal this, and that's the great scene with Harvey Keitel. It's like the guy standing by him is like, and Harvey Keitel's like, what? He goes, well, we got a tip last week that they were going to try and steal it. And he's like, well, what did you do? He goes, well, we didn't think it was credible. And Harvey Keitel's like, well, you think it's credible now?
But if you've ever been to, have you ever been to the National Archives?
But I want to go.
Yeah. I've been there
for this reason. Yeah,
I've been there. I was there just recently in Washington with my girls. I took them there. You can't photograph the documents. You're not allowed to have a cell phone there. You get wanded when you go in. You got to go through metal detectors. It's true what they say. It's in bulletproof glass. I've even heard bomb proof. Like it's no joke. So you can understand whether like someone's going to steal a Declaration. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's not happening. It's like that would like, so I could totally get why the Homeland Security and FBI guys are like, not going to happen.
Yeah. We just didn't think it was credible. It's like, you think it's credible now? What about now?
So,
well, Sean, you just hit it on the head. It's like, this makes me want to go to Washington.
Yeah.
Like it's 40 minutes away from me. It's like I can go in. Like I can go on a weekend. Right?
It's free, Eric. It's free. Everything is free there.
I know. I've been, but now there are parts that I haven't seen.
Right.
This movie makes me want to, check that out, and because I love history as well. So it really plays on if you really like this kind of stuff, it's going to hit the mark. So
absolutely.
And it's got all those great elements. It's got the heist, it's got the action. John Voight is great in it. Just kind of really disappointed in his son. He goes, "You disappoint me." It's like, you've wasted your life on this. So again, when you've got these great actors, kind of in these roles working together, it really kind of it makes it that much more fun too. Because these guys are so great.
Well, and like I'm always saying, like they didn't really have to work hard at it, but that they're just going to give a solid performance, and it's enough to really, because it's not like this is like heavy, like thespian type of thing. It's like, they're just doing a really good sort of action romp. But they did, but having these kinds of actors, and it makes it that much more.
Yeah, because you can tell that John Voight was excited when he realized that Nick Cage was figuring stuff out. Yeah. He was just, he's older, he's been burned more. He was kind of giving up on it, but then once he starts seeing that, this stuff's kind of being figured out, he's not so against it. He's starting to kind of buy into it.
Yeah. I think he awakened something that was lost on him because he couldn't figure it out. So his son is doing it. So it's kind of lying dormant in him. It's like, just forget about it. Don't waste your time. It's not worth it.
But then
now he sees like, whoa, we're so close now. This is possible.
Because he's the one that pushes him further at the end. Like he's the one that finally is like, no, we made it this far. Yep. And then he keeps Nick Cage like focused on it, and then it all
because John Voight, the father, all but said, he goes, "I wasted 20 years of my life on it," but couldn't find it, and that was the great thing is, at the end, when they're at the fake antechamber, is like, you did it. He goes, you did it. You believed, and and you did it for all of us. You did it for all the Gates family members, and for all the for history. So that it's great. And when they kidnap him, it's funny because Eric, when I used to talk to Eric, we before we did all this, we'd talk on the phone. He goes, "How you doing?" And I used to say to him, "Status quo is being maintained." That's where this is from. That's where I got that line from, is because that's what John Voight was saying. So as long as the status quo is maintained, we need to keep those.
You have all my secrets are being exposed to my son. It's like, because I would quote things for like the most obscure things. They're like, what is that? What is that? And then they'll watch a movie and and I don't even realize
go right off.
I don't realize it's happening, but that's where you got it from. Yep. And it's so true. But it's so great.
It's just it's this is like actually, who mentioned Da Vinci Code? Eric, did you?
I did. Yeah.
I wrote down because the Da Vinci Code came out I think 3 years after this. Came out in 2007,
yes. Mm-hmm.
and it's a very similar type of film. Now, I know the Da Vinci Code is obviously a novel and it was written, but you know what? I can't help but think that some of that pacing and the whole quest and the clues and just the way Ron Howard kind of approached it.
Mm-hmm.
When I was thinking about it, I'm like, it seems like all these types of films were coming out all at the same time around each other. And I think the Da Vinci Code might, in style, not in subject matter, but I think it might owe a little bit to this.
I agree.
This kind of brought back the clues and the hunting and the going to different places.
I totally agree. And the book is, I think, probably a lot more complex than the movie was. And, of course, the whole controversy of, what it's, the religious, things and all that kind of thing. But they played it like it's like an action adventure sort of thing. Like, very similar. I was very surprised. I was very taken by that watching this movie. It's like, it's very much like the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
And even in Crystal Skull, like the reveal at the end with the room of the treasure, right?
Mm-hmm.
That to me was like, that's Crystal Skull right there. When he's like, that's Mesopotamian, that's Egyptian, that's this, that's that. And he had everything from all around the world in that one, chamber, which was, and this, I have to say, it definitely outshined that scene in Crystal Skull, because this thing was like, it kept going. Like, I love that.
Yeah, it's great when he lit the
fire. I don't know how that's possible. Why it's, but you don't care. You
there's
don't
no
care.
Possibility in this. It's just fun.
I don't even know how he lit the torch. Like when he first picked up the torch, like it just lights up. Like like it's already got the oil on it or whatever.
That's what happens.
But at that point, you don't care. You don't give a shit, because it's just so like cool. That's like,
they took the ending of Raiders and they built on it even further. They brought it to that nth degree. But it's really cool when he puts the torch in the gunpowder and the lights just like the rows of lights just keep lighting, and then it goes even further, and then it goes up,
it just keeps going, and it's not only deep, but it's also high,
and
it kind of goes up, like at an angle, and it just what an amazing scene that was. That was great.
Yeah, well,
there were stairs.
Yeah, and the subway though, they did make mention, because there was one part when they were at the top of that final quest, and they're like, and the rumbling, and Sean Bean is looking up, or Nicolas Cage goes, "It's a subway," so they acknowledge that they're under, they're deep underground. I think Nicolas Cage said 5 stories underground to Harvey Keitel. He goes, "Well, it's 5 stories right below my feet." So it is fantastic, but so are all these other movies that we watch as well. That was some of the criticism, was kind of what's
the problem? It's not realistic. It's not supposed to be. It's this is that kind of movie. Just go with it, man.
I think what I like, and Sean, maybe tell me if you agree, is how they tied it into American history. Meaning, like the scene with the $100 bill, and he's looking at the clock, and the clock has a time on it, and they're able to kind of tie that into the quest. And then the part with the glasses, when he's like flipping the glasses, and the font on like the information, it looks like the kind of font and styling on the dollar bill. It's like the same kind of artwork. So they really took pains to kind of match kind of tie this thing together that you could. It's like, well, they could, could this be? Could there be something similar to this, like the Mason? Because much like the Templar Knights and their legends of what they might have done. The Masons, the Freemasons, and the Masonic temples in America were the same type of mystery behind them. Right. It's like this mysterious group of Masons and Masonic temples, and what did they do? I think they really, Sean, melded like the American aspects of American history and were able to kind of tie it in.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great that they do that, and just going to each site. Like I just was watching it again with my daughters, and they kind of got. I didn't say anything. They kind of just like gravitated towards, and they're watching, and they're like, "Oh, we were there. They can't do that. They're not supposed to be up there, are they?" I'm like, yes,
don't do that.
Yeah, don't. We don't. No. They're like, you can't go up there, can you? I'm like, no, because we go on tours, and so it's fun. Like they're blending in all these sites and all the history and how it relates and part of the quest. It's well done, and it is good for kids. And you get a little bit of a lesson along the way, it's just kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think the reverence that they have for the history, like I said, they're not looking. The Gates family isn't looking to plunder it.
No,
and it's evidenced by the end where Benjamin Gates, Nicolas Cage gave he goes, they gave everything away. They kept 1%. Much to Riley's consternation that it could have been a lot more, but that's the thing is it was for history, and at the end they said, this is what they wanted to do was give everything back. Put some in the Cairo Museum, put some here, put some in the Louvre. So they have that reverence and love of history. That's why they were doing it. It wasn't for fortune and glory and for that kind of stuff. It was for the love of history that the Gates family, they were a direct link to this. So they were participants in history. It was more of a vindication for them. I think that's really what it was more like, this was real. It did happen, and we're gonna prove it. And we don't need the money. We just, they have a place in history that was debunked and thought of as crackpot information. And they proved that it was more than that this was a real thing. And that's the fun of it. Again, is you're not rooting for them to get the money. You're just rooting for them to protect the Declaration of Independence and kind of, it's almost like saving America. It's like these guys are trying to take the Declaration and they want to, even though he's going to give it back to them, but it's still like nefarious.
The scene where the cat and mouse where they split up and then she's got in the white tube and the thing just falls out of her hands and it's like rolling in the street and the truck's coming. You're like, you actually give a shit. Right. It's like a character, right? It's like, no, like you can't see that. It's not like, you don't care about something fictional. Like a piece, like the headpiece of the staff of Ra or something getting destroyed. You don't really care.
Right.
This thing you care because it's real, because it's a piece of history. And
and
so
there's
it raises the stakes, in that sense. So it worked very well, I thought.
Yeah, there's several parts where the Declaration is in peril. At the end when he's like, "You dropped me to save the Declaration of Independence." I would have done the same thing to you. Yeah. It's like, whoa! You see the weight of that document that someone might lose their life over this, just to preserve this piece of paper, and it's not just a piece of paper.
It's
and then the animal skin.
The scene when he's in the gift shop, she goes, "Are you trying to steal that?"
Yeah.
When he's got
I don't know how he got the other one. Because he's got the one hidden, and where does he get the one that he buys?
He paid for that one. So
but where's the one? But where's the one where's the original that he stole?
I think that's what he was doing. I think he had the original tucked away and he had the fake one out so he could get caught.
So he should have to buy two of them.
He should have, but she only saw one. So she thought he was trying to, which he was.
He did buy two.
Did he?
Yes. He bought two and he gives her the fake one.
Yeah.
He's got the real one.
Yeah.
Those when you got to pay with a credit card, he's like, well, I guess I might as well buy two.
Yeah, we're on the grid. He's like, "Oh, we're on the grid. We can't go back home." And
that's funny how they did that with the gift shop and they sell replicas. That's well done. I like that.
Yeah, it was just great stuff. And then that's when they run into John Voight for the first time, and the whole the scene with the lemons and the, he goes, you need a reagent, you need some type of reagent, and he doesn't want to believe what's going on, but then
he wants to be part of it.
He starts peeking around the corner, and why don't you throw it in the oven? They're like, we can't throw it in the oven.
Well, the declaration is in his house. How does he not? It's like the documents in your house. You cannot help but be, intrigued.
Yeah. And that's great when he lifts it up and he's like, "Oh, what did you do? What? You did? Are you crazy?
What are you doing? This is he turns it over and he realizes that it's the document. He's like, "No!" What?
But it doesn't take him long to jump on board, though.
Yeah, and the scene when the FBI arrive at his house and he's taped up and he goes, we got a line on their car and they took my car too. Like his acting was so bad because it was like he was just giving them the boilerplate answers. Like, well, you said they tied me up and they took my car too.
Well, this is, I guess now is the time to start talking about Keitel, because let's talk about that. First of all, let's talk about that outfit he had on. This is not your typical FBI.
Well, he's high-level FBI.
I mean, he's wearing this fancy tie, so I knew something was up with this guy.
He's got the pinky ring
from the get-go. Like, I'm like, this guy, he's something about him that is just because he really didn't do much. You didn't really see him all that much, like doing much of investigating, or really, he was kind of like laid back about it. Right?
He's the man in charge. He's got the other people doing everything.
But when he reveals that thing that blew me away. I was like, oh, this is so freaking cool.
Yeah.
This is like, this was like the dude in The Mummy. Remember, like the curator of the museum. Like
I was thinking the guy in The Last Crusade that was trying to protect the grave of whoever it was. It was like the protect, like the overseer type guy.
That's right. Yes, it very much plays on that, and it's just so cool to see. Like he was actually a part of this. Like he's like in on it, as so to speak, and he understands what's happening, and he's just kind of like, let's see how this plays out. You know what I mean? Like he takes that attitude about it. If you're wondering, like, oh, they got Harvey Keitel in this. Why isn't he more aggressive and more, why,
more Harvey Keitel-ish?
Yeah, like he's like, playing the typical like lawman thing, and I thought that was great.
You knew he was in charge of it all. Like you knew that he was the man.
Yeah, but the thing, right? But he used that to kind of play on the idea that he knew, like instinctively, that these guys, like, I want to see where they go with this. I want to see, he kind of got the impression that he wanted it to happen. Like, he wanted them to succeed, he
certainly wasn't like Samuel Gerard in The Fugitive, like a full,
He's like a bulldog, like aggressive,
hunting him down. Yeah. He was kind of like, he goes, you just gave away your only bargaining chip. Like when you hand over the declaration, he goes, it's not a bargaining chip, So I think at the end, what it was also is I think he needed to kind of figure him out. Harvey Keitel, like, needed to see if this guy was genuine. And I think when he did that, he goes, the declaration's not a bargaiting chip.
Right.
And he's well,
someone has to go to jail.
Yeah. Somebody's got to go to prison.
Yeah.
Keitel got a helicopter.
He had a presence in that movie, even though he wasn't in it very much.
Right.
His presence was there and felt and necessary and integral to the whole plot, which I liked. You said, it wasn't Keiteling it. He was just
a very small role, but really great.
But he didn't even get that upset when Nicolas Cage kind of takes the left turn to do what he's got to do, because he kind of is like, maybe this guy can figure it out.
Yeah, that's why he's like smart.
See what happens.
Yeah, I love that. Like
he saw him as an asset. He was Harvey Keitel's character saw Gates, Nicolas Cage, as more of an asset. I think kind of like, I think he thought he was genuine, but I think at that final scene kind of cemented it. It was kind of like, give it away. And then Harvey Keitel was like, oh yeah, for the people. And he goes, that's the way it was meant to be. So, and then they show the pinky ring with the Masonic thing on it. It's like, okay,
the thing of it is that do you think he might have been a believer of the family. Like everybody thought they were crazy, and he's one of these people that, he
didn't seem to know too much about it in the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't think he knew much about the Gates family.
He wants to know where all his friends are.
Find out who his friends and family are. Let's get it worked up. So I don't think he knew about it. But maybe after researching, kind of thought, okay, let's he was able to steal it, and they're kind of going from place to place with it. So you go for the ride on this film. That's why I love this film.
Yeah,
it's rated PG, so it's there's nothing. It's just fun. Like it's like an old
time.
It's
just a fun movie.
It's just a fun movie that keeps moving. The stakes are keep getting raised, but it's never like, something disgusting is going to happen or whatever. But it's like Eric said, the stakes are like protecting this document that is so important to the country, And like I said, usually these types of movies are exotic, they're globe-trotting and not so USA centric, which I think was a nice breath of fresh air of like, oh, this is very US history.
And it's also somewhat logical. I mean, obviously there's fantasy in it, but it was logical in how he figured each thing out.
Yeah.
Like it seemed it could work that way, the way it all went.
Yeah.
Working to the glasses, figuring all that stuff out. And it was kind of just so easy to watch and so easy to enjoy.
Right.
Without much thought. You could just,
right.
It was
it's
just
not very
fun
often
to watch.
It's not very often you see this type of thing, and there's a sense of optimism about it too. It's like it makes you care about America. It makes you care about
the history,
fathers and the history, and you don't. Everything today is like debunking everything. It's refreshing. It was quite refreshing to see that. When I watched it, I was like, I wish I had seen this back in the day.
And it comes from. I think Cage gives that because he. As crazy as he can be, his acting is he's very you kind of believe that he really loves history this much and that he respects how much like what every piece meant to America. And he's, you could call it idealistic, you could call it whatever you want, but it's easy to enjoy it because you want to believe that. You want to believe that that's what he was in it just for the people. The founding fathers were in it to make the best whatever. And it's kind of like you don't have to worry about the crap that's going on today. You just kind of enjoy a fun action movie with a good thoughts kind of behind it.
It's just a perfect escapist type of film.
Exactly,
And it has just enough of real life elements to it that just it gives it that credibility, and yet it's like, but it's pure joy and escapism, and it's like that's
the childlike sense of wonderment that Nicolas Cage has, especially in the scene when they get the glasses and they're in the they bring it down, they're going to look at the document. He goes, hang on a second, and they're like, what? He goes, the last time this document was here was being signed. So there's that reverence and sense of wonderment that he kind of is he really, like Cage did a really good job of that. He really sold that wonderment that this guy, their family lives history. They love history, and they understand the majesty of it, the majestic parts of it, but also the importance of it and his role in it at that point, So it was really like, and the whole Charlotte thing too, like that was kind of the Charlotte with John Voight, what kind of echoed Last Crusade, was, did you find the tomb of, whatever it's like, Alexandretta,
I mean, it has its influences. Sure.
Like I found the Charlotte. He goes, I found her. He goes, it was a ship.
Yeah.
He's like, so they took the right parts to kind of connect you and make you feel comfortable with it. And, having the father and all that stuff is stock action stuff, but the way it was constructed was great. The clue, like Jerry said, the clues leading you from one to the other, they seemed realistic. It's like, although it's Sean, I don't think it's that easy to cut a brick out of Independence Hall, though. He kind of,
I was thinking
cut that out with a knife. He took that shit out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Actually, some of the Independence Hall stuff was shot at Knott's Berry Farm. Not all of it was at Independence Hall. Knott's Berry Farm has a replica of Independence Hall, and they use that. but everything else was on location. So,
but it's also creative in how, like when they had to go to the Silence Do-Good letters, and Riley has the kid running in, looking up each one, like it. You could, I mean, yeah, it's a little weird these days that you're paying some kid $1 to keep running in and out. But at least it kind of fit. Like you kind of could see, he can't walk in and look because they know everyone's looking for them.
Yeah.
And the kid's just like, yeah, I'll do anything for $1. And it's so just things like that just made it so easy. And then how Riley figures it out and then realizes he's, things are up, and then, what's the name, sees the kid, and at first he just thinks it's a kid, and then he sees the kid come back, and then he's like, something's up, like just things like that. Like I love crap like that where it's just weird little they're coincidences, but it's like they're fun clues. You're figuring shit out.
They pick up these little allies along the way. You see it in James Bond, you see it in Indiana Jones. It's like these little diminutive kids, and you're just like, oh come on, like you just kind of. But the question is how did he know this kid was smart like that? Like, how did he know to pay him to do this? Did he know the kid? Like
he's dressed like a prep school kid. He was dressed in a uniform. I think he was like he's dressed in a suit and tie.
Who tells how much money he lost giving it to other kids that just kept screwing it up along the way?
Yeah.
He might have started out at $5 a clip, and he went to $1 by the time it was over. And that was a great scene because the bus passes by and it says pass and stow. So Riley figures out the last part of it and leaves, and then Sean Bean is following the kid out, and the kid is going out to nobody. So there's those near misses, and Sean Bean's character is smart enough to kind of pick up on. Like you said, that subtle
seeing
thing.
The kid twice and being like, "Why is this kid running in and out? That seems weird."
Yep.
And the people, again, critics were commenting on, it's just nothing but nonstop chase sequences, and like I didn't see that at all. I saw very clever sort of cat and mouse type stuff like that, like like you just mentioned, Dean, like the bus pass and he's not there. Things like that. I love that kind of stuff. That to me is as compelling of a chase type of thing as any like action, full blown CG explosions, cars. I would rather much see that happen than I thought it was and surprisingly it's Jerry Bruckheimer, so I'm expecting this to happen, and I was so pleased that it wasn't overblown like that. Typically, because his films are like, that kind of thing. But it's like here, it's like, no, we really didn't get that much. I mean,
it was grounded. The action was grounded. It wasn't over the top action. It was just the clues were the thing, and the notion of the treasure was over the top.
The wildest action was her hanging off the truck.
Yeah.
Like you could imagine, like, I mean, no one saw an issue. And then the other part when he's running on the roof, but even with that, it was odd because the guy that was chasing Nicolas Cage on the roof didn't want to hurt him. He was just like, look, just give me what you, so it like takes away, like, it's not over the top. Like, like Bean wasn't trying to kill them, even though he did leave them to die at one point. But at that point, he's just so frustrated at the end. Yeah. But through the rest of it, all he wants is to get the treasure. It wasn't like I want to kill everybody. It was I want to beat this guy. So once he had what he needed, let them go.
Yeah, let him go.
There's no point.
That's basically what happened when he got the declaration. And Riley and Dr. Chase were there. He's like, let him go. Like we don't need, we don't care. Like whatever. We're not going to up. We don't need to up the body count. We just want this.
We just want to win.
We're just thieves. We're thieves.
Yeah.
They'll do what they have to do. Sean, can you screen this for your students? Can this be part of your curriculum?
Could we use it? Yeah, that's what I mean. You could use something like this, like let's say tomorrow, which sometimes
no one's the day before Thanksgiving. No one's paying attention.
Yeah. Well, because kids are going on vacation and things like that. Like that's just something you could, you could maybe do in segments. You don't like just hit play and kind of let it go. Yeah. It's also something you could do at the end of the year when things are winding down. I just taught about the Declaration, which is perfect timing for all this stuff. But something like at the end when they've got enough knowledge to appreciate everything that's going on. Yeah. So that's when I would use it. And like like I just said, my girls watched it with me, and because we had been to a lot of these places, light bulbs are going off, and they're seeing like, oh, this is an important place because it's right there in the movie, and people are caring. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. So it's something you would probably do like at the end, or when there's like some time where, it's a little bit more loose because of what's going on, like with holidays and breaks and things like that.
Yeah. I think you hit on that point again. I think that's what kind of makes it accessible too, is it's not some faraway exotic jungle in the Amazon. It's like, these are places that people in America can just go visit and kind of, and see the see the history. And it's not like Eric said, it's not like the dial of destiny, which isn't some real thing. These are, they're using kind of real world locations and real world objects to kind of craft the story around it. Like, what if there is a treasure map on the back, and like I said, there's that sense of wonderment that hopefully will get people to kind of go see the real thing, even, knowing that we don't know if it's not on the back, but
to have a place like Washington, DC in general, in a real life, people live there, it's an everyday occurrence for people. It's like, it's no big deal. It's like you take it for granted. And yet there's so much history there. This is where the president resides. This is where, where it all happens. This is the blood, the nerve center of our country. And yet you got people walking up and down the street. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's that kind of surrealism to it almost. Like, this is just, you go there and it's like, I can't believe I'm here. And yet it's not really that overwhelmingly like spectacular, but it is, you know what I mean? You can't really,
because it's not a historical, it's not like a museum or a historical site. It's a living, breathing, functioning piece of government. Yes. So those people are a part of it, making it go around. So it's not like that. Yeah. It's not like when you go to a museum and you see a relic, it's like, it's so solemn. It's like, no, the wheels of government and the country are turning.
Yeah. I enjoy this movie more. The latest one I can think of is that Uncharted with Tom Holland, that type of treasure hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like that movie. I know it didn't do as well as I think they thought it would be, but like that is set in all the exotic places. I mean, they at one point have 2 pirate ships flying through the air. I enjoy this. Like, it was easy to watch this for 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they're running around. I mean, I'm so goofy in that I like when they go to the Intrepid and I'm like, oh, I've been to the Intrepid. Yeah. I'm like a little kid. And it's like, it's easier for me to enjoy this because of what you said. It's right. It's real. Like, it's real places, at least, Sean, with your daughter being at the archives and stuff, like you can kind of just feel like it's just more relatable. Yep. Because it's as crazy as it may get, it's just cool because it's right where we are. It's all things that we can physically be at.
Yeah. Yeah. Now there was a sequel. Skip the sequel. It's got a great cast. It's got Ed Harris. It's got Helen Mirren. It deals with, I think, with something with the Civil War. Sean, did you see the sequel?
I did. I believe it's. Yes, and I saw it in the theater. I saw it once. I think it's with the Emancipation Proclamation or Gettysburg Address.
I think like Ed Harris is like a descendant of Robert E. Lee or somebody, right? And he's trying to clear his family name. Yeah. Right. Something like that. It got a little convoluted.
He kidnaps the president. That's the big thing. Which is normal.
And then actually this was on everybody's mind that Disney Plus just made it only lasted 1 season, but they did make a National Treasure series without these main characters.
It wasn't the same.
They didn't renew it, so it's not going to continue. But Nicolas Cage was always interested in revisiting it, and they asked him recently. He goes, "Well, there's a TV show, so I guess not." But that didn't do so well.
I thought this was supposed to be a trilogy because in the sequel, there's a part where there's a page in the book that he has that only the president sees that has something. And I thought that was supposed to be the third piece of all this.
It could have been a setup. Again, after that, Nicolas Cage's career was heading in totally different direction. And like I said, and movies had changed too. By then the MCU was in full swing, and people weren't kind of these these original ideas weren't really the creme de la creme like they were back then. But I think we've hit a lot of favorite scenes. But Eric, is there something that stuck out for you beyond even what we talked about?
Trying to think.
I feel vindicated for Edge of Tomorrow, by the way. I'm glad I didn't sell this one to, because I was afraid. I'm like, if I do it again and it's another swing and a miss, he's not going to watch anything.
A lifetime of friendship gone.
I never said I didn't like Edge of Tomorrow, though.
But I really
oversold Tom Cruise. To me, it was very.
I was giving you the hard sell.
But I like the movie, and in fact, it's a movie that I'd like to revisit, because I want to, the points that were made during the episode. You guys made some really, really great points about it, and what really got me about that one was the gaming aspect.
Yeah,
like somebody, I don't know, I forget who it was. It might have been
it was me.
Was it you? That it felt
Nick
like
was saying it too. Yeah.
Yes. That it's very much like a video game where you die and you keep coming back, and each time you come back, I never thought of it that way. So I'm like, that's actually a really great angle. So like, it's worth revisiting. And again, it's a good movie, but it's this, I prefer this kind of thing. I love history. I love the Indiana Jones thing. I love looking at the past, and it could be. Some things do tend to get a little bit more ridiculous, but I don't know. I really dug the whole movie, but as far as a favorite scene, I have to go with the end, because to me, like, that was a really cool. It just got better and better as the movie went along, right? I started watching. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty cool. It's lighthearted. It's whatever, but it just kept getting better, and I started really, really enjoying it. So by the end of it, that big reveal at the end, and of course, the reveal of Harvey Keitel really sold it for me. I was just like, this is good stuff.
Yeah,
and of course, Nicolas Cage's outfit in the beginning, that freaking that white shirt that he's got on with the big collar and the freaking like the suede jacket. He's rocking it. That's a great outfit. But. Yeah, so I gotta give that props. But that's cool. Probably my favorite moments.
Gerry, what do you got?
Well, first of all, I say I wish things like this were true, because I love the whole treasure hunt. My favorite scene, I don't know why, I enjoy when they're going to steal the Declaration, and Riley's in the van trying to guide him, and he's like, once everything goes out and he's like, why is there shooting? What's going on? Just how Nicolas Cage has to kind of improvise, and Riley doesn't know what the hell's going on. It's just like that to me. That's kind of like wacky Nicolas Cage, but it's like he figures it all out. He gets it out, and he's not panicking. Like I'd be shitting my pants at that point. If people are shooting at me and everything's going wrong, I would panic and it would be over. So I just enjoy how it all kind of works. I mean, it gets kind of crazy when what's her name is swinging off the door. Yeah. But even there, that's another instance of he thinks he gets the Declaration, so he lets them go. Like they can just go, and it's like odd to like that whole sequence of that. It just kind of encapsulates the movie. Like they're figuring things out on the fly. They think they have it. And Riley's my favorite character. I love that humor. I love that. Like he knows where his position. The one time he has it on top of Cage with the daylight savings, I would be feeling the same way. I'd be like, finally, I fucking got this guy on something. And so that whole scene, I kind of see most of his character in that. Yeah, so that's most entertaining to me.
He's kind of like, so this is what it feels like to be you all the time.
Exactly. Yes, and that's all he needs.
Yeah, because I just want to enjoy this for a moment. They're like, so it's great. So, Sean, what do you got for what do you got for a favorite?
My favorite part is followed by my one nitpick.
Right.
It is when they're stealing the Declaration of Independence and they're shooting at him. I love that he picks up the document because it's in the bulletproof glass and he uses it to shield himself, so it saves him. And I love that. But then when the door's shut, he like takes it out and rolls it right up like it's like it's a 200-something-year-old piece of paper. Like it's like just like roll it up, throw it in. Like, I know that's not quite.
That opens up the whole buying the Declaration.
Yeah,
I mean,
listen, I love it. It's just that I'm like, that's not.
Sean, he
that's
rolled
the historian in you. That's coming out.
I think, real quick, you had. I think when we saw Last Crusade for the first time, you had that same critique about the book. Like that book would not be in as good a shape as it is. Like it should be like crumbling in your fingers if you cut it. You know, those pages are so old. They would, that's what it would be. Like you had that kind of similar critique, but
suspension of
I let it go. I let it go. But, I'm thinking, where are your gloves? Where is like?
Well, they do address that later when she's like, "How about the person that's trained in how to touch?"
Yes.
So they at least do accept that. They
I let it go. It just I had it. I'm like, okay, and then I let it go. I'm on the ride.
Sean, he rolled that poster up like a 15-year-old at Sam Goody rolling up a Judas Priest poster.
That is perfect. Exactly. You are 100% correct. That's absolutely correct.
Stuff it in the plastic. There you go.
My favorite scene actually ties the whole movie together, and you don't realize it until the end. The secret lies with Charlotte. They gave you the key to the movie in the very beginning. This innocuous pipe that didn't mean anything, right? And it's kind of like, that the Charlotte, the pipe started the whole thing when he. It had the inscription on it, and he cut his finger to roll it out to read it. And then later on, Sean Bean's like, you know what? I'll give you, give me the glasses, I'll give you the pipe, and I'll throw in the pipe as a thing. And that throwaway thing turned out to be the key. He's like, and then at the end, he's like, the secret lies with Charlotte. And he put
easy. Yeah.
He put the pipe in, and he had the stem of the pipe, and he turned it, and it opened the door. Brilliant piece of callback. Like screenwriting,
and even further than that, he does acknowledge that. Like he says it. He goes, "Could it be this simple?"
Yeah,
and that sold it as well. Like it's just
it tied up the whole Gates thing where that was the clue that was given to the great grandfather is the secret. Like that whole thing. We think it was just the start of the quest.
Yeah,
but it was actually the resolution of the quest was the secret lies with Charlotte. So just a really I love smart screenwriting like that. That kind of you don't think about it until afterwards. Like, wow, okay, that was the whole thing. So really great. This is a really fun movie. It's available on Disney Plus for streaming. So if you've gotten that service, you could check it out. Like I said, it's family friendly. There is nothing in this. You would, I think, probably the first PG film that Harvey Keitel has been in, perhaps.
Yeah,
it's true.
Right? Well, somebody.
A far cry from Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah. He was in it so little. He was like, I can only do a couple scenes.
Yeah, well, I can't. Yeah, this is too.
Otherwise, we're going to get the rating that's going to go.
Yeah,
exactly. I got to curse at some point. Maybe let me curse and leave it in the deleted scenes. Like somebody was shooting at somebody, or somebody was mad at somebody, and who was shooting and who was being shot at, and why were they mad at each other?
Yeah.
So really, really great stuff. This is just a I think all of us got the point across. It's a fun movie to watch. And it's a really great one. So that's going to do it for this episode of the 3324 podcast. Gerry Sullivan made it through with one really large can, or did you crack open a second?
No, just the one.
Still on. Oh, that's that slamming noise.
It's not like I'm a raging alcoholic here.
It's not like you. It's not like you are, but you might be. Thank you, Gerry. Thank you for joining us on this episode. As always, Sean Grady, thank you for joining us on this very historical episode. Right in your
thanks
wheelhouse.
for having me.
Hope you had a great time with it. You can see an extension of this via Sean Grady and check out Drama from the Past. We'll put the link in the show notes on Facebook. Go ahead and visit because he's kind of keeping that spirit alive as well. There are people that do have that are around now that have a love of history, and Sean is one of those. Mm-hmm. And it's evident, and he takes it seriously, but he's got that genuine love of history. So do us a favor: is watch the film and go check out Drama from the Past and check out what they're doing. It's a really great companion piece. And of course, Eric, as always, we're here. We're always here. We're in our chairs.
That's right.
He's in his comfy couch though. He moved.
I moved this downstairs. I was like, you know what? Enough of that room. It's too white. It's too bright. I like the comfiness of my living room.
He's like, I'm taking this show on the road. I'm getting out of that room and I'm going down to the couch. So he's on the comfy sofa, and I remain in my Jeff Lynne shrine as always. You can find us exactly in our same places each week. So we thank you for joining us. So for Jerry, for Sean, and for Eric, this has been Dean asking you to please be kind. Go ahead and rewind.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Eric Cooper. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 podcast and on Twitter at 3324p to join the conversation.